Good day to all you lovely gents and ladies and non-binary folks that are watching us. I'm not going to be able to keep that the whole entire time. So I give up immediately.
Let's see how long you can go. Yeah.
It's like, are we doing accents? I
No.
can do this.
No, see, here's the thing. I can't do a UK accent because then I will slip between a British accent and an Australian accent, because I still can't.
Just go Cockney. All right, governor. Here we go.
It's like talk. Nope, was about to go Irish. Wrong part of the country.
And this show's taking place in Glasgow. Like, we're just mixed up all over the place.
Listen, we'll talk about a couple of the resident wrestlers that come from that area because we got to see them tonight. But hello to all my guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the bi-conics wrestling podcast land, and welcome to another exciting episode of Table for Two Plus You, your weekly Impact Wrestling for now, before we change the name beginning in January to TNA. And yeah, we are coming at you live with this one, reviewing Impact Wrestling for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. And this was a special episode because we are reviewing this show that happened in Glasgow as part of Impact's UK tour that literally happened last week.
It's Glasgow.
Glasgow. I'm just
saying it's Glasgow.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just apologizing ahead in advance because I am going to royally mess this up at all times.
It's my Scottish roots, and I apologize.
I'm a dumb American, so I apologize. You would think I'd be able to do it. I'm Latino. I have no problem rolling the R's and everything, but I can't pronounce that correctly.
If I had forethought, I would have worn my kilt.
Hold up.
So you could have said you were. No one would have known.
But I would have gotten up and shown it.
Oh, that's true.
Listen, hold up. If I am so down for this, I can pause this right now. We can come in for the reveal. Can we do that? Do you want to do that?
I can. It doesn't take me long to put it on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see a jump cut. We're going to have a costume change, so we'll be right back. And we're back from commercial break. So that was a fun little segue. And we had a whole entire costume change. So as we were speaking, Will mentioned that he had a kilt, and then me being the boss man told him that he needed to go get it on. So Will, reveal the kilt to us and the audience.
I had to change headgear too.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice.
Scottish heritage.
Now I want to.
This is actually my work kilt. This is the one I wear at work.
Is that a utility kilt?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I work in a scene shop.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's always hot in here. So
Be like, it's so free.
it is. It's very nice.
Now
But anyway,
ta-da! So that was a very fun intro to this whole episode, which kind of perfectly describes how I felt watching this episode of Impact. It was just fun. This was a fun time. And this was a very wrestling-focused show, which I actually really appreciated. It was kind of a nice break from what we normally get from Impact, which is matches, backstage promos, all that good stuff. We still had some promos, but they didn't overstay their welcome. And yeah, this was just a fun time. So let's just jump straight into it. We open up this episode of Impact. We are told, so you're going to be seeing a lot of this as we talk about this episode. We jump from the event in the UK, and then we jump back to our commentators, Matthew Raywald and Tom Hannafan from the United States, obviously taping these parts after they've all come home from abroad. And they fill us in on what we're going to be seeing, as well as they tell us in between the matches, like what to expect the next couple of weeks for Impact as well, which was really, really nice. So we open up Impact this week with the finals of again, I'm going to butcher it, the Glasgow Cup finals. See, now I'm going to be so insecure making sure I try to pronounce it correctly. My goodness. But we have the finals, which we are told that two matches had happened previously, which we are told we will be seeing later at some point. But the finals are the hometown hero, Joe Hendry, taking on Frankie Kazarian. Listen, immediately, as soon as Joe Hendry's music played, I was just like, this is what I want to see. It was beautiful. So before the match starts, Joe Hendry does a little promo in the ring, and then he basically ran through the accolades, which I was just like, damn, in such a short time, he's actually accomplished a lot. He currently still holds the longest digital media championship title reign. He also said that he created one of the most over tag teams in the span of 5 weeks with Joya, which then made me sad. But now he is here to win this cup, and he's going to he's going to fight Frankie Kazarian and win, which then proceeds with Frankie Kazarian to come down. The bell rings. I didn't know what to expect with this match, but this match was baller. Like, oh my god, this match was fantastic. You are muted, Will.
Yeah, I like this match, but I was texting Mikey while we were watching it, and I was like, this is a Kazarian that I've never seen before. And I like this Kazarian more so than the other one that we've been watching.
Now that we've gone away from the void that is the Edward Kazarian feud.
And this was a far better version of Kazarian. I was like, oh, thank God, because I was wondering. I was like, is he gonna be that way all the time? And he wasn't. And I was like, this was literally a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Okay, I really like it. I really love what he's got going on right now. So this was like, I was in this from the beginning. The minute I saw the difference, I was like, oh, okay, all right. And of course, Henry.
This was one of my top 2 matches of the night, actually. I mean, the way that Joe Hendry starts off the match, I mean, he still brings out that Joya energy. Like, I believe in Joe Hendry. I will just say that.
Me too.
And just like, it was such a great way to start with his energy as well as being at home. Frankie Kazarian got to show off, what we've seen from him in the past. And it was just such a fun-paced match, and they both got to excel. Like, watching this, I want to see Joe Hendry on Impact every week. Put him on there. Like, the same way we talked about Dalton Castle and Ring of Honor. Like, I want to see Joe Hendry in Impact for this. Like, so entertaining, and it's funny because watching it and seeing kind of his in-ring charisma, and also some of the looks too. I was like, he's kind of the professional wrestling John Hamm.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of Frankie Kazarian since like way back in the day. Like, when I've loved. Listen, when he and Christopher Daniels were Team SoCal, like, come on, like, that was great. And honestly, outside of, the Eddie Edwards and the feud he had with Eddie Edwards for that overstayed its welcome, I'm honestly kind of glad that Frankie Kazarian has decided that once he was done with AEW, he came back over here he came to Impact, and I feel like this is probably my favorite run that Frankie has had, because yes, the feud with Eddie Edwards was but I mean, he's had some pretty stellar matches. He was X Division champion towards the end of last year, lest we forget too. Oh my goodness, and he had such a he had a fun match against Josh. That match was amazing.
Hey, he's a great wrestler. I mean, when whatever he does when he's in the ring, he always excels at. So it'll be nice to see him get some fresh action and interact with some of the other talent that's on Impact.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Joe Hendry was the star of this match because it makes sense because, we're in his hometown. Like, this is great. One of my favorite things, and I've always said this about Joe Hendry, one of the things I've always loved is Joe's ability to go from being camp to serious wrestling. That stalling suplex on Frankie where he just held him up for a little bit, I was just like, I forget how strong Joe Hendry is. Lord have mercy.
I mean, he's a pretty big dude.
Yeah, he's big, dude.
I mean, like, you forget just how big he is. And I mean, I know he and Frankie are kind of similar, but man, he's like powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. But you're right. I forget that too sometimes.
But overall, this was a fun match. Joe Hendry is the winner. He is your Glasgow Cup winner, so he gets a little trophy, which we'll see in a little bit. From here, we have our first backstage segment where we have the most professional wrestling gods, which is Brian Myers and Moose, as well as Deonna Purrazzo. And I kind of like this three-way promo they had going on. I was like, dang, Deonna kind of fits in pretty well with these guys. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm kind of surprised that I'm here for it.
Yeah, I do want to correct you though, as Moose introduced them. They're the virtuous pro wrestling gods. Apparently.
Oh, sure. Well, that makes sense because Deonna's moniker is the Virtuosa, so this is a one-time thing. But I love the fact that I was like, yeah, all three of them have an ego, and it kind of works. Now, obviously, Moose has his match at Hard to Kill. Deonna has her. Poor Brian Myers. He has nothing going on at the moment because, again, Moose has Hard to Kill. Deonna has her match against Trinity at a Turning Point, which we'll discuss at the end of the show. And Brian Myers is just there kind of chilling. but essentially...
Being a good friend.
Yeah, it's being a good friend. And ultimately, they are hyping up their match that these three are going to be taking on the team of Subculture later, which we'll get into that match. Then we head backstage again. This time we're talking with Joe Hendry, and he's just filling us in about how he's excited to win the tournament. And then this is where he reminds us about he literally only debuted last October, so he's only been in Impact for a year. I was like, damn, I felt like he's been here longer. And so it made me happy to hear him say, now every week Impact Wrestling needs to be ready because Joe Hendry is about to steal the show. I was like, please do.
Yeah, seriously. Welcome.
I mean, yeah, he could go after any of those division titles and I'd be happy.
I mean, I've always said, I was like, it kind of felt like he was spinning his wheels, when Yuya had to go back to Japan and we lost Joya for a little bit. But now it seems that we're finally putting Joe back in the singles division push. And again, digital media, X division, even in the world title picture, I'm ready for the next step. Okay, what I wasn't ready for was this next match. We have the most professional. We have Moose, Brian Myers, and Deonna Purrazzo, the most virtuous the most virtuous wrestling gods, taking on the team of Subculture. First and foremost, I had Miss Subculture on my Impact television screen. I love Subculture, and I love that this was a mixed 6-man tag team championship. And I knew it was going to be fun, but my God, these 6 pulled out probably outside of the main event. This was probably one of my favorite matches of the night.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I rank this up there as one of my top matches of the night. I will say, I've enjoyed all of these wrestlers, but I didn't know that much about Danny Luna before this, and this match won me over. I am a huge Danny Luna fan now. I mean, the fact that and like you said, I love that they even said in the beginning this match is an intergender match. Everybody wrestles everybody because that's the standard in Impact. And I was like, yes, thank you. That I love that is like they're like, yep, whatever the teams are is what the teams are. Everybody wrestles everybody, and everyone in this match lived up to that. Like they all went in there and they hit spots with everybody, and Danny Luna was right there with a former Knockouts champion and former world champion, and just like, you know, two big hosses, but she was in there hossing with them both, and I enjoyed it. It was so much fun, and it just seeing the dynamics between the two teams was made for such an entertaining match.
Gosh, it was. I love it. I agree with you. I love these intermatch, men, women, everybody. Because I mean, these women were taking it and they were giving it. So and I love that. I think that is totally awesome. And I wish more of the other platforms would get on board with this. It just shows how entertaining it can be. And that some of these women, man, and like I say all the time, some of these women can give some of these men a run for their money. And you know, we have that. Unfortunately, we have that stigma in society, and so they fight against it. But Impact doesn't, and I love that. And it shows that it can be a positive. You know, that's the great thing about it is it can be positive. You know, it doesn't have to be negative. Stop making it negative. Because these women they did, both of them. They held their own, and I was like, "You go, girls! You go!" They were taking the hits and they were giving them right back. So I love it. Yeah, this match, I wasn't sure what to expect from this match. Only because I'm not 100% familiar with subculture. Again, I have to do some Google searching. But, so I was like, I don't really know what to expect because I don't really know much about them. And man, it blew my expectations out of the water. I was like, this was so good. This is probably my number 2 spot in the night. Close to my number 1 because it was pretty darn good. I mean, it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I sat here and I watched it. Like I said, I was telling the guys before we started recording, I don't have anything bad to say about this episode. Not really. You know, if there's anything, it's like nitpicky crap. But I mean, literally, all the matches I thought were pretty darn good. The whole run was pretty good. It didn't feel like it was an hour. What was it, an hour and 43 minutes or something like that? An hour.
I know.
It didn't feel like that at all. It was so. It happened and it was done. And it was like, wait. So that just shows you the whole period. It pulled you in. And I was telling Mikey before he came on that the way it's filmed, I literally felt like I was there with them, like I was watching it. You know, because it has a different feel than the sort of regular Impact episodes because we're filming it, the film is different, the speed's different, and it just felt so personal. You know, we were talking about how it kind of reminds us of like watching home movies. It really does. It really did. I was kind of like I was part of the group. So to me, that's a big thing for me. I was like, this really pulled me in, and it got me in there, and I was like, I loved it. So well done.
Yeah, let's briefly talk about that because the whole entire time I was just like, they tilted the camera, and like they were giving us different angle shots. I was just like, can we get this all the time? Like, I actually wouldn't mind this.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I loved it.
It does make me wonder because they're going to be doing so much, you know, so many things like this and different things before we get to the new year. It makes me wonder what the feel is going to be like for TNA when it switches over. You know, what they're going to bring from what they've learned, things that they want to go back to. But I feel like this, because the arena itself was so small and they were limited on areas where the cameras could be, it really did give you that feeling like we were all in this little room watching these matches happen, and they were so much fun and so big that it was just like you could feel it. It was very engaging and intimate. It was awesome.
That's one of the things I love about wrestling in not just in the UK, but just Europe in general. It's very small room, and like the energy is always listen. the fans here were amazing. And I'm going to talk about them in a little bit when we get to Grado and Trey Miguel, because the fans were a part of this match and I loved it so much. I will say, but back to the match. Again, I agree with you, Andrew, in the sense that I'm a little more familiar with Danny Luna, and now this made me even more excited for her match against Jordan Grace at Turning Point. Like, those girls were going to kill it, and I'm going to say this, between this and the potential between her and Jordan, whatever that match is going to be, I want to get more Danny Luna on my Impact Television screen. Like, I think she would be a fun addition to the Knockouts division. It would be great. Also, you could bring the Subculture Boys too, because like I love them as well. This whole faction is great. And yeah, Deanna and Danny were my standouts because Deanna's out here fighting the dude. Danny Luna squared up with Moose, which was like money shot with me. I was like, there's the money shot.
Absolutely.
I was like, because Danny's a pretty powerful girl, but she's very short compared to Moose, and we know Moose is a big dude. And to see her fight Moose and like literally actually get a chance to throw him around was awesome to watch.
One of my favorite moments is when all three of them got him off of the top
Yes.
rope.
Yes, that was so
my
good.
Favorite moment. I was like, that is fantastic. It's just fantastic.
Well, and that was the funny thing, because the Subculture guys are not big guys at all.
No,
they're
not
fast,
at all.
high flyers. So when they got in the ring, all three of them were almost the same size compared to Moose and Myers. I mean, like, I felt like Deonna Purrazzo probably had some strength advantage against Flash Morgan and
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. So it was awesome to see that different dynamic and see how people engaged, and the enjoyment that Danny Luna had on her face of like getting a chance to challenge someone like Moose was just so engaging. Like, it was so much fun. And yeah, I agree. I would love to see them all in Impact consistently.
Honestly, and that's one of the things I loved about this episode, is because the rules and just the style and the culture of wrestling in the UK is so vastly different than what we have here in the States. Like, intergender wrestling is like a big thing over here in the UK. Like, they do it on a weekly basis across all of the promotions in the UK, and that's one of the things I love. And listen, what I love about Impact is that they're going to these international shows as well as different territories. And what I'm noticing is Scott and Gail are picking up, and the wrestlers too. They're like literally touring the world and picking up different tips and tricks, whether it's production, whether audience engagement, like styles of wrestling, character things. Like, I think that's why I'm enjoying Impact so much this year, is the fact that they're learning from all around the world and they're integrating it into what we get on Thursdays. So it's one of my favorite things that I love. I will say, yeah, go ahead.
I just to piggyback on. We were talking earlier, and I was telling you that everybody felt different. Like, all the characters felt different in this episode, and I think that's because of where they were. Where they were was influencing them, because it's like Frank Kazarian. I mean, it was a completely different man, and he felt more. I don't know. It was like. And then we were watching, and as we kept watching, everybody from the American side who was there, they were all different in some way. So I'm just like, and I love that. I love the idea of that they're assimilating themselves into whatever culture they're in, and they're taking part of that culture and making it their own. And I love that. I absolutely love that, because it enriches their characters.
Yeah. I feel like Impact, and I mean this in a very good way, Impact is like the high production value independent. Like, the things that you see from independent promotions, the smaller promotions, it's like Impact does a lot of that, but with like the slightly higher production value. And oftentimes a lot of experienced wrestlers, but they just do stuff just differently enough that it seems like they do pick up a lot of stuff from what the indies do, more so than like even AEW does, and especially WWE, like they may pick up independent wrestlers and smaller promotion wrestlers, but they kind of start to change them over to that production style for those bigger companies. And I think if Impact holds on to that, that's going to give them a really great way to stand out.
Absolutely. And of course, Deanna and the most professional wrestling gods, so the most virtuous wrestling gods, do pick up the win here. But this match was given some time. Everyone got some basic stuff in, and then some. Like, this was a really, really fun match. From here, we jump backstage where Josh Alexander and Eric Young are kind of a little too close in this little tight little hallway that they're filming this in. Listen, the bisexual in me was just like, and kiss. I was like, they were really close. And I love that Josh like unapologetically wears like the Impact merch because he was wearing the Impact Wrestling like flat brim like cap and everything. And I'd forgotten about this, so they're basically giving this promo talking about how they're going to face the Motor City Machine Guns in the main event tonight. And then Josh said, it's like, we've never really teamed before. We haven't crossed paths. I'm like, holy crap, you're right. I was like, huh? I was just like, what do you mean they haven't crossed paths yet? I was like, I know they fought. Oh. Yeah, I love that this little segment re-educated me. I'm like, I forgot. They've never teamed together. They've never been on the same side. And they've only really fought each other like 2 or 3 times in the past. Crazy to me. Because Eric Young is also really good. But ultimately, this backstage segment sets up what we're getting in our main event. And then we get to probably the most entertaining match of the night for me. Grado versus Trey Miguel. Listen, I want to give props. First of all, we're going to talk about Grado because Grado he was so great here. But I want to give props to Trey Miguel because Trey has always done a really good job from going to being super serious to being super heel. But the comedic timing that Trey Miguel has with a lot of these types of matches that he finds himself in is so good. Like, and what I love is because normally when you have wrestlers in these comedic spots, you could tell if wrestlers don't really want to be in these spots and they don't want to be here. Trey has gone on record saying this is like, as much as he loves the athleticism and he loves like the actual like wrestling hard wrestling matches, he loves these comedic matches as well because it's different and it allows him to just be a little bit goofier, which we know in real life Trey Miguel is a big goofball, which I love. So props to Trey Miguel. But Grado, let me talk to you real quick. Grado, my dude, I need you on my Impact screen weekly now. Like, oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Yes. He was so good. I mean, like all around, not just as a wrestler, but as a character, as a performer, he was so charismatic, so fun. He pulled me in because I wasn't really sure because again, I didn't know who he was, and then I felt like and this is the great thing about it is I didn't feel like I needed to know who he was. Like as if I just walked in and we were like best buddies. I mean, it's like, oh, okay, I'm totally familiar with you. I don't know why, but I'm totally familiar with you, and it was cool. And this when I go back to what I was saying, how everyone was different. Trey Miguel's character was different too, and it was so good. I didn't dislike him as a character like I normally do. I was like, wow. Look at that. It just amazing. This whole episode just blew me away in these little bitty moments like that. Because I'm a big theater. So I'm always looking at like character stuff. And just to see these sort of subtle switches in some cases, but this switch was it was just amazing. It was just great to watch. It was just so good. Grado, yeah, he needs to be on the keyboard.
He does the comedic wrestling really well, because it's not just that his performance is really, consistent and spot on, but his actual in-ring performance is really clean for comedic wrestling. he's really tight on a lot of the moves, which makes them more believable, even though they're in that comedic setting. And he pulls you in because he feels like, I feel like you look at him and you're like, oh, you're like a wrestling fan that got to be a wrestler, basically. And that's the feeling he gives, because he just feels like he could be, he's kind of an everyman. He feels like he could be anybody that's, at ringside watching it, but he's so smooth in the ring. And Trey Miguel was a great foil against him, just, the frustration and the challenges and doing exactly what should happen when you're wrestling a comedic wrestler that's like pushing all your buttons. Yeah, it was a super fun match. It was a really good comedy spot. It was a great way to have Grado on TV for people that aren't familiar or don't at least get to see him very often. So that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, and I agree. I feel like this is the match that I would love other promotions to use as a blueprint if you want to do funny bit, but still have wrestling involved in it without being complete like over the top of everything. This is the match to do so. This was great. So Grado does pick up the victory here over Trey Miguel. Again, I love that Impact lets the hometown people win in the hometowns, because the other promotions, every time they announce, oh, we're in so-and-so's hometown, oh, they're gonna lose. Yeah, they're gonna lose. Like, the other promotions, for some reason, don't let the hometown kids win in their hometowns, which is crazy. So, after this, we do jump backstage. So, again, just continuing on with the difference of characters. So, we get this backstage segment with Eddie Edwards. And he is basically cutting this promo because he has his match against Will Ospreay at Turning Point. And this, funnily enough, this is the Eddie I want to see. Like, not this whiny little, like, woe is me that we got during the Frankie Kazarian food, but this is the Eddie Edwards who's like, I run Impact, I am an original here, and you're not going to take away that from me. Will, you might be the best in the world, but now you're in my house, and I'm going to give you everything I got, because you're going to have to earn your victory in my house. I was like, where was this Eddie throughout the whole entire feud with Frankie? Like, oh my gosh. I'm telling you, man, there's something in the UK and the tour that they went on, like, something was in the air because everyone picked on something different.
I feel like it almost felt like they had been working so hard to get to where we got to before the UK tour started, that everyone was like so exhausted and they were trying to finish up the stuff that was going on. And when they got to go on this trip, they were so excited. It was like renewing their enjoyment of what they do for a living and getting to go to brand new audiences and new places, perform in new, storylines, and just get to do a lot of these different things. It felt like they were reinvigorated. And I'm really hoping that that's going to carry over through the new year.
And, we get a taste of that in another promo later on, too.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. It's so good. I was like, this is the Eddie I want to see. So, Eddie, thank you. This is the Eddie that I've known. So I was like, Eddie, thank you for coming back, and please keep this for the rest of the year and leading into next year too, with TNA coming back and the rebrand. From here,
I didn't dislike it. I normally can't stand the guy, and I was literally like, okay, I'm with you, man. He was talking, and I was listening, and I was like, okay. See, that's like, I was with you, Mikey. I'm like, I could be on board with this, Eddie. Like, it was like, Patton in front of the big American flag, and it was like, yeah, I'm on your side. I'm Team Eddie all of a sudden. And I'm just like, what the hell just happened?
I need to find my Boston accent since he's from Boston.
Oh, God.
I love it. Again, I'm here for this Eddie Edwards. Mm-hmm. And something else that I was here for too, we see Trinity in action against Emerson Jane. And I was just like, I was like, shout out to the thick girls. I was just like, yeah. I was like, I look at her wrestling gear. I'm like, she's wearing she's wearing like boxer shorts. I'm so here for this. Like, man, this match was so much fun in the sense that I was not familiar with Emerson, but man, she won me over in this match. Again, she's giving me comedic chicken, heel, and I loved it. But man, like the duality between, obviously she's a strong girl and she can hit hard. What I was not expecting is like, I was like, oh, she has speed to her too, because she was able to keep up with Trinity in a lot of those like small speed spots that they were doing. And then being able to go to the floor, back to standing up, I was just like, this match is great. And honestly, this also showcased Trinity really, really well. And it just reminded me, I'm like, yeah, she's that quick on her feet.
You know, the thing I loved about this match is it felt like they were having fun. Like, yeah, they were fighting, but they were having fun doing it. And so it was like, both of them. I felt like they were having fun in this match. And of course, Trinity twerking. And it was, I was just so good. It was such a fun match. God, it was so fun. And I didn't know much about her either.
Emerson J.
Emerson, thank you. I was like, Emerson. Yeah. I didn't know much about her either, so I had to get just a little bit. But yeah, they were fun. They were fun to watch. They were just fun. It was just a fun match.
Oh,
again, like I don't have anything bad to say. It's fine.
Absolutely. I mean, oh my goodness. Emerson won me over. I'm gonna have to start looking into her now. Trinity continues to win. Trinity picks up the victory here. And this was just a fun knockouts match and fun women's match. Also, so I'm going to derail this a little bit. So someone sent this to me. And this technically is part of Impact. So we're breaking news first here on Table for Two. So, I mean, we talked about this in Bound for Glory, and we kind of figured that this was going to happen, but we do have our first official match for Hard to Kill. They have officially announced it will be Trinity defending her title against Jordan Grace at Hard to Kill. They gave us the placard and everything, and I was like, it is now officially made, because I never say, I was like, oh, we know this match is happening, but I don't count it as official until the promotions gives me the match card placard. Now we have the match card placard. Please let this main event, TNA, please let it be the main event, because that is the main event I want to see. No shade, I love Alex Shelley, but Trinity versus Jordan Grace.
I agree.
My body's not ready, you guys.
I really have.
Especially the way that Jordan won this title shot. Like, I mean, both of them are just on this trajectory to collide that there's just so much there to be built up with. And there's nothing there should be no hurt feelings or feeling let down by like the world title, the men's world title being the co-main or, the secondary match and this being the main event, because this match just has main event energy written all over it.
I'm so excited, even though we have to wait to January. Like, the road to Hard to Kill is going to be so much fun. And it starts with here, and then we got Final Resolution in December, and then we will eventually make our way to Hard to Kill. So I am super excited. So one thing I wasn't expecting that also kind of got me hyped is I normally don't talk about like little recap / video packages that we get, but they managed to show us like a good 3-4 minute video package of just the Impact crew touring the UK, doing things like having different wrestlers talk. And the main focus point, I was like, you go, Eddie, because he says exactly, I was like, the show feels different. I'm like, everybody else feels different. This is great. And then Eddie said it is just like, we're here in the UK, we're traveling the world. I was like, this has just reinvigorated us with everything that we've been doing this year. And this is just a breath of fresh air. I was like, you know what, Eddie? Perfectly described why everybody is feeling different, because, and Andrew, you hinted at this and you talked about it like earlier in the review. getting to the end of, Bound for Glory, and everything between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory was just such a long road, because that was all the way from July up into October, which is this is a long time. And so everybody was probably tired at that point with how much work they were putting in. And this, while they were touring the UK, again, this feels like a vacation video of them just happening to find a wrestling ring and a camera, and it's like, let's just wrestle. It was so refreshing to see. I loved it so much.
Well, it was so nice, because the reason I loved it, and I was waiting for us to get to this, is because it showed us, the audience, the viewers, that they are real people. I mean, that they are like the rest of us. I mean, it's like we tend to put them on. We tend to set the bar so high for these folks that sometimes we just need to realize and remember that they're just like us. They're everyday, ordinary folks who get exhausted, who get stressed, who get to the point where they just want to stop. And sometimes they just literally need to take a trip together sometimes, and then kind of reconnect with themselves. And they were talking about, as a company, they use that word a lot. As a company, they kind of needed this. And it's like, yeah, because sometimes you do. Sometimes you just need to go. Take a trip, take a road trip with your friends and reconnect. And I loved that. And I loved all the little things, showing them just being silly with each other. Even like what I love about it is because we see the characters fade away, and the players, the actual human beings show, and we see these heels faces all like sitting with each other, chilling, having fun, joking with each other, and they're talking about how we're all good friends, and it's all this, and it's like, that's what it is. And that makes me want to invest more into it, because I know that they are just like me. And that they have those crappy days, and they have their good days, and sometimes you just gotta take your friends on a road trip. Seriously, just get away from it. Go. Mikey, you were saying like earlier, like the filming feels like they just pulled into a town and they're like, hey, look, they've got a wrestling event. Someone pull out your phone and let's record some wrestling. That's what it feels like, and it's so refreshing. And I bet you anything, it was 1,000 times refreshing. Not having to, perform for that sort of high value, the real impact stuff. And it's just like, let's just go UK and let's just have fun. There's no pressure, no anything. And I loved it. I just love it. And I think that it's exactly what they needed, to be honest. I think like you were saying, reinvigorate the brand. And especially since the shit is about that.
Well, and it's funny because, I follow quite a few of them on social media, and since Bound for Glory, the things that they've been posting, obviously a lot of them came from this tour. We just had Halloween, so they were doing posts about that. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like, it's one of the things that I really appreciate about a lot of the newer companies, or the reinvigorated companies, that the bigger company doesn't allow them to do, is they get to be real people. They get to be who they are on their days off on social media. And, we are all aware enough fans that we can see that and still be invested in their characters when they're on the screen. Because I think there's a thing about it that allows us to connect to them, like you were saying, Will, in a way that's real. We're like, oh, they're dealing with this stress. They have a family. They have friends. They go do silly things together. They make TikTok videos together. They do all of the different stuff that everybody else is doing on social media, and, sharing their real life stuff. And you get to see glimpses of them being regular people. And it allows you to appreciate them even that much more when you see them and how hard they're working when they're on. you know. So yeah, it was been a lot of fun to kind of see that shift in the company as a whole since Bound for Glory, especially because Bound for Glory it took so long to get there, but it was such a great show, and it seems like they did such a good job. This is the frosting on the cake that they get to enjoy after all that hard work. Now they get to have a lot of fun doing that work.
Absolutely. And again, I love that Impact allows us to get glimpses of the people behind the characters every Thursday. And I loved it. It was different enough, but it honestly, just this episode alone might be so far my favorite of the week. Granted that I've pretty much covered everything so far this week. I'm on everything, you guys. It's getting out of hand. But after this recap, we get a quick backstage segment with Trinity. She talks about how fun it was to go up against Emerson, and now she is focused and she's rejuvenated, so now she's going to enjoy the rest of the UK tour, but now she's laser focused in her match against Diana, and how this is the third time they fought each other, and she's excited, but she knows that Diana's not a pushover, but Diana needs to be ready because Trinity is going to give it to her, and I'm excited for this match that they're going to have at Turning Point. Like, I don't care if it's the third time we've seen Trinity and Diana. The fact that we get to see this match again is great. And you added Gail Kim as special guest referee. I think that's the part that made me go from oh my gosh, I'm excited to oh my god. I was like, I'm not ready for this. All right, the words of my favorite drag queen, Kennedy Davenport. I need to take a moment because I tell you, on paper, I already knew this main event. As we get to the main event, and I looked at my screen and I was like, we have like 30 minutes left. You can't tell me they're gonna. I'm like, how do you have? Listen, I was like, I'm not against, and I'm like, I know we can put a 30-minute match on with the 4 people in the ring. What are we gonna do? You guys, I was not ready. Because Lord have mercy. I knew this match was going to be amazing. They blew my expectations out of the water. And so. Oh my gosh, you guys. Like, this match was awesome.
Yeah, and I wasn't really expecting it to be. Isn't that sad? And the only reason because you know, we saw Shelly and Alexander already fight, and I was like, oh, here we are again, watching the same thing over. That's where I went into it. But man, it slapped me in the face. I was like, all right, this was not what I was thinking it was going to be, and I am very happy that it was. This was my match of the night, for sure. It was so good, and I love it because, you know, Sabin and Shelly, man, they work together. Holy crap! They are like a well-oiled machine. But they're so intuitive of each other. That's what made this match for me. Is I was just watching these two men just work together, and it's like, you know, it's like that couple that can finish each other's sentences. That's who they are, and it was so smooth, and it was like choreography. It was like a dance, and of course, you know, Josh and Eric were keeping up, and I just, there was just so much about this match that I loved. I just was like, I'm not even gonna take notes on it. I'm just gonna watch it. I just watched it. It was so good. It was so good. The outcome was what I thought it would be, but that's okay. But it was just so good. It was just so great. I know, and I don't think I've, in the time I've been doing Impact, I don't think I've ever seen Motor City Machine Guns work together. This is my first time. And wow, man, what the hell have I been missing? They're good together. I mean, like,
Oh, yeah.
good together. I was, like, wow. They were like in sync with.
Oh yeah, they're definitely, like, when you look at some of the top tag teams in tag team history, they're definitely up there, especially in Impact. They're one of the top tag teams in Impact history for sure, and their skills together are great. I thought this match was especially good because I think we saw the moment that Alex Shelley got injured during this match. And they communicate. I mean, they're all veterans. Even, Josh is the least experienced of all of them, which is, pretty crazy. But you saw them all coordinate. And one of the things that really got me was, like, how well they all wrestled together. And the way that they could communicate to each other. I think by the end of it, there was a reason he didn't come back into the ring, for the ending sequence. But up until then, they did really good jobs. Watching it from, like, just watching the moves as they hit them and thinking about that and watching out for his leg, like, just the choices that they all made collectively were so smart. And the fact that they went through so much of the match with that, and it still was an incredible match. I thought there was some great moments of the fact that Alexander and Eric Young are not a consistent tag team. They've never really tagged together. So there was some clear, like, communication things, and definitely nowhere as smooth as Motor City Machine Guns, but they still. I love the fact that they came out in kind of matching singlets. They both sides looked like tag teams, which kind of had me wondering. I know they're having another match coming up, and so I'm like, are we going to see some kind of Team Canada run here from the two of them, or is that just for the tour? Because I'd kind of be there for Josh Alexander, Eric Young, Team Canada tag team. But yeah, it was a great way to end the night with a lot of energy. The fact that we had these, like, former world champions, tag champions, just these four, stalwarts of Impact going at it was just pretty awesome. And yeah, to get to see the Motor City Machine Guns in their, like, prime element of tag team wrestling was awesome.
This was a fun way to end this episode of Impact, and we did get told that next week we would be going back to our regular scheduled programming, where we would get the Fallout episodes from Bound for Glory. Don't know which matches we're going to be getting. Here's hoping that we say Will versus Josh for 2 weeks, so let's continue. But I'm excited because all the Fallout matches that we were told that were going to happen, like, is going to be great. So, before we jump into our Turning Point predictions, because we do have the Turning Point pay-per-view coming up, so let's just quickly go through our rating for this Impact. You may use whatever scale you like. Out of a scale of 10, I'm actually going to give this, like, a solid 8.5 out of 10 for me. Again, this was just refreshing. Just like the Impact roster was refreshed going to the UK, I was refreshed as a weekly viewer, because the road to Bound for Glory was a long one between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. I mean, we did have a few pay-per-views in between, but the road to Bound for Glory was very, very long. And it was just refreshing to see everybody have fun. And this episode reminded me of why I love Impact Wrestling so much. Is that we get good wrestling, we get good characters, but I feel like I get a chance to see the people behind the characters a lot more than I do other companies, which is really refreshing. The matches were fun, the backstage segments were great. This was just a fun UK tour a show that we got to see, so that is why I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Andrew, let's go to you next. What do you give this week's Impact Wrestling?
Putting it all together, this week's Impact got a B. I got an 80% from me, 81 technically. But yeah, it was every match on here was a solid B level match here for me. Some were getting up close to that 9 ranking, but everyone was really solid for me. It was paced really well. I enjoyed it. I felt like even if things weren't directly tied into any future storylines, nothing lost momentum for this week. Like, everybody got momentum coming out of this, and it'll be nice to see if that continues on.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, Will, what do you give this rating for Impact this week?
I gave this about 8.5 ish. And only, because it's hard to get a 10, but it was, I thought all the 8.5, 9, getting close to 9, probably like maybe 8.75 or something. Only because I love all of the camaraderie in this episode. I loved all of even the matches themselves. There was a sense of sort of respect for one another, and everyone just had a whole new energy about them, and I was all over that. I was all over that. And it was such a fun match. It was such a fun episode. All the matches were fun. I don't really think there was a weak match at all. I think they were all pretty well even. But this just felt good. That's all I can really say. Like, it just felt good. It made me feel good. That was so good. That's what I loved. So yeah, about 8.75.
I love it. And honestly, like, I can't speak for my other two compatriots, but I feel that the common theme was that some of us have been following Impact for a lot longer. That I've only started watching Impact for the last 2 years, and I've enjoyed the ride up to this point. Again, I was part of that weird era where we had crossover with AEW, so watching the likes of Kenny Omega wrestle in Impact was something I didn't expect. And now we're getting Will Ospreay in Impact, which is great. I'm not gonna complain if we get. I'm telling you, it's gonna be really hard because I still have recency bias, but Will versus Mike probably still is one of my top matches of the year, and I have a lot of matches I have to go back through my list before I figure out which one was my favorite. But I feel that between all three of us, this was refreshing as a reviewer because we made it to the end of the Bound for Glory season, and this was just like a nice debate. Listen, for all you anime fans out there, this was the beach episode for us. I was like, we had 40 episodes of main plot, and then now we have this filler where it's a beach episode. Everyone's there to go have fun. It's shenanigans. This is what this felt like. This is the beach episode for Impact. Everyone's just there to have fun. And now we can take this refreshing view, go through the rest of the year. We get to Final Resolution in December, and then we start the season all over again with the season premiere of Impact's pay-per-view schedule with Hard to Kill in January. But before we
TNA.
TNA Hard to Kill. The transition from saying Impact to TNA is going to be easy, but man, I'm excited. For Christmas, I'm getting us those TNA shirts that they decided to, with the new logo and everything they made. I was like, we're getting all TNA shirts. I need to do that. So that is going to be the end of this review. But before we go, we do have an Impact pay-per-view, funny enough. And I was like, oh my God, we just covered Bound for Glory 2 weeks ago. And we do have a pay-per-view. Technically, at the time of this recording on Friday, it is tonight. It is Turning Point, and they actually gave us a pretty fun card, and this is going to hold us over until December's Final Resolution pay-per-view. So we're going to go through really quickly and talk about the matches and just give our predictions of who is going to win. So, really quickly, we have 2 matches on the countdown for Turning Point. So, first and foremost, we do have a match where we have Mark Haskins taking on Leon Slater. So, again, I have no familiarity with either of these two except by name alone.
Uh-oh.
I know, uh-oh.
But,
Oh.
yeah. I'm actually going to pick Leon for this one. So, slight technical difficulties, but the Impact Gods have decided to bless us with the second chance. So this is our call your shot, hopefully. So we're going to try to get through this as quickly as we can because I feel that it may or may not work out. So we shall see. So as I was saying, the countdown to Turning Point, we have Mark Haskins taking on Leon Slater. I picked Leon Slater just from aesthetics alone. No idea who these two are, but I'm excited to explore new talent. It's going to be great. Andrew, who do you got for this one?
This was a big question mark for me because I, as well, did not know who either of these two were before seeing them for this. So, yeah, it's a big question mark for me. I'm not sure, but I think they're two young talent, so it'll probably be a pretty entertaining match.
Love to see it. Will, who do you got for this one?
I flipped a coin on this one. And Leon Slater won. So I'm going to go with Leon Slater and see if fate is on my side or not.
Now I feel like I should have picked Leon Slater.
We shall see what
Well,
happens.
technically, I didn't pick Leon Slater. The coin did.
That is very, very fair. So the other match we have for the countdown to Turning Point is we will have Grado and Rhino in some sort of tag team action. As soon as I saw this pairing, I immediately picked, doesn't matter who they're fighting against, I'm giving this one to Grado and Rhino. Like, no contest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
that was easy.
I feel like if this was on the main card, maybe they'd pull out a surprise tag team, but as I've was referring to them in my notes, Grino is definitely going to pick this up because they're being brought in for the recognition. So, yeah.
Yep. Rhino sounds like the new dating app.
Rhino, that's funny.
Oh my goodness. So, with those two out of the way, now we can talk about the main card. So, in no particular order, due to Alex Shelley needing to sit down for a little bit, Frankie Kazarian has been pulled from the triple threat match, and now it's just a one-on-one match. So we have Rich Swann taking on Trey Miguel. I'm picking Trey with this one, but honestly, this one can go either way for me. And I'm not sure about the uncertainty, but I'm sticking with my guns. I'm picking Trey to win this one.
Yeah, I feel like because is the doesn't the winner of this get an X Division title shot or something? I thought that's what the triple threat was.
Yeah, I think that was the advertised that the winner of this gets a shot at Chris Sabin's X Division championship or something like that. So
yeah, I feel like Trey Miguel's gonna win. I'd like to see him win, so he's got my pick for this match.
Trey Miguel as well.
Sweet. Next up, we have Giselle Shaw taking on UK talent Alex Windsor. I'm really, really excited. I only know Alex by name, but I've heard awesome things about her. I love Alex, but I'm going to give it to Giselle. I think Giselle definitely needs a win here after the string of losses that her and the Chantaraj have had the last couple of weeks. So I think giving Giselle a win here would actually work out. So I'm going with Giselle on this one.
Yeah, Giselle's face. I mean, she's lost the last few times against the top of the division. So I think because she's going against somebody that's not at the top of Impact's knockout division, this is going to be a chance for her to face someone fresh, but come out with a victory, kind of moving forward with stuff. So damn, Giselle Shaw's got my vote.
Love it. So next up, honestly, on paper, I'm really excited for this one. Jordan Grace versus Danny Luna. I think Jordan is going to win here because you need to keep Jordan looking strong, as now that as she's going to call her shot at hard to kill. So Jordan picking up the win here makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, looking strong. I think what we saw with Danny Luna earlier in the show, this match will make Jordan Grace look strong and should be a really fun match between the two of them. But Jordan Grace will pick up the win.
I love, for the most part, we have the same predictions. This is great. So, this next match is probably like the one I'm most anticipated for, just because I'm a huge wrestling YouTuber nerd fan. So Joe Hendry versus Simon Miller of What Culture. Listen, you guys. We here at the bi-conics stan Simon Miller with passion. We love him. Of all the wrestling YouTubers that we all follow and we talk about here on the bi-conics, Simon Miller is at the top of our list, just because he brings something refreshing to the wrestling review world, and he's just a nice overall dude. He is so wholesome. I love him. But of course, he's playing his wrestling persona, who's an absolute complete Chad, and I'm here for it. And the little segment we got of Joe Hendry and Simon Miller having a food fight at the What Culture office was probably one of my favorite things I saw. But I'm picking our lovely person. I'm picking Joe to win this one. I was just like, this is a perfect feud for him. But Joe, I think, is going to beat Simon. But honestly, this is probably my most anticipated match.
Yes, why is this not the main event? No, I'm just kidding. No, I agree. Joe Hendry is going to pick up the win. It's going to be a super fun match. Awesome. So awesome for Simon Miller to be in there with Joe Hendry. The two of them for this card is so fun. I think this whole card's going to have a lot of those kind of feels throughout it. But yeah, Joe Hendry is going to win this one. I believe Joe Hendry is going to win this one.
I'm also Joe Hendry on this one.
Because we here at the bi-conics, we believe in Joe Hendry.
or we just want to have our way with Joe Hendry.
I mean, listen, 2 out of the 3 of us would definitely would. Or both,
I can take both.
This is what happens when you throw the bi-conics boys together. We review, but we also get a little thirsty. So that's why I have my water present. So, with a little bit of a change to this match, I still think this is going to be fun. We now have the team of Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian taking on the most professional wrestling gods, which is Moose and Brian Myers. I can't see Chris and Frankie losing this one, because originally this was supposed to be Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. But I mean, you still have your X Division champ. I don't think you're going to have him lose in this match. So I'm picking Frankie and Chris to win against Moose and Myers.
Well, finally we found a place to disagree, because I think Moose and Myers are going to win this, and I think Kazarian takes the pin. So that way the champion doesn't take the loss, and you don't weaken the guy that's going for the world title. So I think the most professional wrestling gods are going to come out of this with a victory, and probably there's some shenanigans or chicanery or whatever they're going to do.
Tomfoolery.
Yeah. all those things.
I went with Frankie and Chris, because I think that, or at least I hope that, and I kind of see your point, Andrew. I truly do. So then I'm rethinking myself. Oh, you know what? That's actually legit. I didn't think about it that way. But I'll go with my original prediction. I'll go with Chris and Frankie, even though now I'm kind of on your side. But I'm going to go with my original prediction. So that way I'm not I'm just going to change mine.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that it's, yeah. I'm just going to, now I'm rethinking this. I'm just nope. Damn it.
You got a 50-50 chat, so.
Yeah, I mean, I originally I was like Frankie and Chris because I was like, Chris is so good, and I didn't think about Frankie not holding him back. That's unfair to him, but I can see that point now. But I'm gonna go with them though. I'm gonna stay with them. I'm gonna stay with my original prediction. I have faith that Frankie and Chris will find there'll be a moment in their match where they suddenly come into sync together and they just like whoop some ass.
I love it. So next up, what I think is going to be a really fun tag team match, you have Josh Alexander and Eric Young taking on Subculture. I'm expecting this match to be a lot of fun. I'm going to pick Team Canada over here to be the victors here. So Josh Alexander and Eric Young are my picks to win.
Yep, I agree. I think it's going to be a good match, but I think they're the ones coming out, especially since they took the loss tonight. I think they're going to come out with a victory the next one.
I agree. I chose them as well.
So next up, and what I'm hoping is the semi-main event, you have Trinity versus Deonna Purrazzo, and this is for the Knockouts Championship with Gail Kim as special guest referee. I love Deonna, but Trinity is definitely retaining here, and I think that's the smartest move because Deonna, I think you can find something else for her to do while Trinity still holds this title, because the stipulation is that Deonna loses, she can no longer challenge for the Knockouts Championship so long as Trinity holds on to it. So Trinity will need to lose it in order for Deonna to get back into the title picture. And honestly, I'm going with Trinity here. What I'm hoping to see, though, and I don't know if Gail would be down for it, I think Deonna, because now she's slowly becoming heel again, for the last couple of weeks since losing that title, I honestly think that Trinity will hold on to it. Deonna will get mad, and I think Deonna versus Gail might actually be up for grabs as a feud, maybe, because Gail can still go. It's just one-offs instead of like weekly in the ring kind of stuff. And honestly, that'd be a fun match, either a Final Resolution or Hard to Kill. Deonna versus the GOAT of Impact and just women's wrestling in general. Gail Kim is something I want to see, but I'm picking Trinity to retain her title here.
Yeah, I think Trinity is too. The biggest difference is I feel like, and I hope that this will be the main event. It's the only title on the card. They've got a former legend champion as the special referee. I'm hoping that this is the actual closer of the show. But yeah, I think Trinity's going to win this, and I think Deonna Purrazzo will have a chance to challenge for the title once it's the TNA title, because I think someone's going to be a new champion in January. So, but that's a prediction for another time. For Turning Point, I'm picking Trinity to pick this one up.
This match is going to be so good. I mean, Deonna and Trinity's last two matches were amazing. I'm excited for this one. And then the only reason I think this next match is the main event is because who you have in it, in terms of just this is a big name. So I would love for the women to main event, but honestly, I feel like I'd be cool if this was main event too. So the last match on the card, we have Will Ospreay taking on Eddie Edwards. Eddie, I love you, but as soon as they told us this was the match we were getting, I was like, oh, Will's definitely winning this one. There's no way he loses against Eddie here. But I still think this is going to be a phenomenal match, but Will Ospreay to win.
Yeah, I agree. I think this has the potential to be up there with the Ospreay-Bayley match, but in a very different way, just because of the different style that Eddie brings in. But yeah, I don't think Ospreay is losing any of his Impact matches. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be Ospreay coming out of this and giving us another, great match.
Yeah, I went with Ospreay as well, even though I really want, believe it or not, Eddie to win, and only because of my beef about these sort of main roster type people coming in and like winning matches against, the house really bugs the crap out of me. But I think you're right. I don't think that if it were anyone else other than Eddie, but because the reason I hope I'm wrong is because Eddie, because it was mostly because of what he said in this episode tonight. And he's like, you know what, this is my house. You're not going to come in here, blah 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 blah. And he was a huge part of the group shot. We were talking, and I kind of got on board with him. I was really kind of turned Team Eddie there, but even though I think Osprey's going to win, I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope Eddie wins. But I'm going to pick Will Osprey.
Absolutely.
I love it. And with that brings us to the end of our predictions. So, thank you for so much. And this part's going to be included in our regular review. But thank you so much for tuning into another week's episode of Table for Two plus You, your weekly Impact Wrestling review goodness. Boys, it was a pleasure to review this one, and I look forward to our pay-per-view review in a couple of days when we review Turning Point. A little bit of housekeeping. Unfortunately, Andrew decided that he's going to go for a 1-week singles push, and he's going to go out venture on his own, which will leave me and Will to hold down the fort. So the OG crew will be doing a 1-week only review together as a duo. But fear not, we will be back to our trio sooner than you can say molasses, but that's going to be a great time. But if you like all these reviews that we do, you can check all of them out, from the weekly television shows to the pay-per-views here at the bi-conics Wrestling YouTube channel. You can check us out at BC WrestlePod all over the social medias to catch us when, notifications when these videos go live, as well as some behind-the-scenes shenanigans. And now we're diving into the world of meme culture, so that's a fun thing. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to hear a more raw, untamed, and unhinged version of the reviews, you can check us out at the bi-conics Wrestling Podcast, where we pretty much do everything except talk about reviews. And we talk about literally this episode that I have planned for us next time. We're literally going to try to fix a bunch of the story problems we have across all the promotions. So we're going to play Fantasy Booker and talk about how these things should go. And we may or may not start fighting. It's going to be great. But until the next Table for Two review, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and stay bi-conic, you beautiful bastards. But until then, from me, Andrew, and Will, and the rest of the bi-conics, we'll talk to you later. Ta-ta for now.